Two teams who are playing playoff-type baseball. Two teams who are also going to be watching the playoffs from home. It makes you wonder what could have been. Today, on a special crossover edition, Locked on A's, Locked on Marlins.
You are Locked on MLB Crossover, part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Go to 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Welcome to this edition of Locked on MLB Crossover. We are Locked on A's, Locked on Marlins. My name is Booney, host of Locked on A's, and Jeremiah Geiger, host of Locked on Marlins, is joining me today. Jeremiah, how are you, buddy?
Doing well. Unfortunately, the Marlins just got eliminated from postseason consideration yesterday, but it was a good ride. It was a good season, and I'm excited to have this crossover pod and talk some baseball.
Absolutely. I mean, it's teams with similar type of years in the sense of the starts they got, right? Marlins started off 25-41, 16 games under 500. Since then, 52-41. They've had win streaks of 7 games, 8 games. And most people probably don't realize they literally just mathematically got eliminated today. I mean, they were just 5 games back. And same thing with the A's. A's, not as much as a larger sample size, 33-22 after a start of 42-62. Of course, these had a nice start, 20-16, and then they lose 20-21. It's one of those years. It makes you think what could have been. Do you look back at the Marlins season like that? I mean, the start the Marlins had, you never really got off to the gates well, where the A's did, and then went on a miserable losing streak. Then all of a sudden, the Marlins, 16 games under 500. But since then, we're playing great baseball.
Right. Yeah, no, it's one of those things where, given the expectations coming into the year, the 25-41 start was, in my mind, more of the norm. That was going to be the 2025 Marlins. And then something clicked after they got swept by Colorado in the start of June. They lose 2 more consecutive series, and then they just go on a winning streak. Series win after series win.
Right.
They play great baseball. Some of the best baseball, really, right behind the Milwaukee Brewers up until the trade deadline. And then you sit and think to yourself, we have 2 months left of the season. Why not us? Let's go shock the world. And then in August, the team just ran out of gas. The kill shot was a series in Atlanta where it was a 5-game series, and you lose 4 out of 5 to a bad Braves team. I know there's a stigma of, Atlanta is a perennial contender, but they weren't this year, and the Marlins couldn't take advantage of it. And then, like you said, in September, they started playing great baseball again, winning 10 out of 11, 7 straight, but it was just too little too late. So you take away a couple losses here and there, this Marlins team could have been in the playoffs. And I think that's it's disappointing when you look at it like that, but from an overall perspective, I'm really happy with the growth and the individual performances we saw.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's the same with the A's. I mean, the A's at one point were 20-16, 1 game out of the AL West lead. Then all of a sudden, 20-21, and we just could not recover. As of late, we've been playing great baseball, one of the better records in all of baseball. But unfortunately, it is 162, and those streaks do happen. It just makes you wonder what could have been, because both teams right now are playing like playoff teams. Is there optimism in the air? I always say to A's fans, I'm cautiously optimistic, because playing games with something on the line where they mean something versus running the schedule out are 2 different things. How are you feeling about the Marlins going into next year, and what do you feel that needs to get better?
I'm excited for the offseason, because this is the first offseason in really a while now that I felt that there's building blocks, legitimate young cornerstone players. Kyle Stowers, who unfortunately is going to finish the season on the injured list, but Jacob Marcy, Augustine Ramirez, those guys are part of a young core, and that excites me. Now, the question in the back of my head, and this will never go away, being a Marlins fan and dealing with poor ownership in terms of financial commitment, will Bruce Sherman do anything to improve the roster? Because this team signed 2 major league free agent contracts over the last 2 seasons, Tim Anderson and Cal Quantrill. And if you watch the game of baseball, you'll know those guys aren't exactly stars, to say the least. So now you're pushing 80 wins in what would be considered a rebuild season. 2026 comes around. You have an opportunity in the expanded playoff to legitimately get in the postseason and make a run anywhere from 80 to 85 wins. This is the moment in which I need to see ownership commit, sign some free agents, add some talent to the roster. You're building a farm system. That's great. You don't need to trade away your prospects, but also open up the wallet and spend.
Yeah. Right. No, I hear you. Talk about the Sandy Alcantara a little bit. What do you make of his year? Numbers don't look great. It seems like a lot was put on his shoulders. What's the thought in Marlins Nation with regard to Alcantara? They were talking about trading him at the trade deadline, but obviously his stock went down considerably because he just wasn't pitching like the guy he was.
Yeah, he pitched terrible to start the season, and it was coming off of Tommy John surgery, and you never know how a pitcher is going to react. And in this case with Sandy, it really shocked me because in spring training, he looked good. The velocity was there, the off speed was there, and then right out of the gate, he was struggling with command, getting hit really hard, and this continued really up until the trade deadline where his value had tanked so much. I think his ERA right around July 31st was somewhere around 7 or the high 6s. It was atrocious. And then the back half of the season, he really figured it out. He looked like the Sandy of old, and he was going 6 innings, 7 innings routinely. And all of a sudden, the Marlins fan base was like, okay, Sandy's back. You know, it took him a while to get back, but that 2022 version of Sandy, when he won the Cy Young Award, there's some part of that still in there. He's just 30 years old, and it excites me for 2026, assuming he's still on the team, you know, because this Marlins organization, I can almost guarantee, thought they would trade him this season. If he pitched well in the first half of the year, they were going to trade him at the deadline. They held on to him. Sandy was grateful to be here. And I really hope they keep him for 26 because I think the Marlins can compete. I don't want to see this team continue to tear down the roster. Now it's about building the roster.
Talk about Kyle Stowers. When I noticed Kyle Stowers was against the A's, May 3rd, 2025, and what he did to the A's. And we're going to play a little bit of a clip on that in just a bit. But talk about Kyle Stowers. What's he been at? Are you shocked at the year he's had? And what are you guys expecting from him in the future?
Yeah, never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined Stowers would develop to become this level of player, an all-star. And while he was healthy, there was murmurings of potentially getting MVP votes. He was playing so well, and he's going to finish the season in just playing 117 games. But an OPS over 900, 25 bombs, 73 ribbies. He's the real deal. And he's a player that should be in a Marlins uniform for a long time. And assuming he stays healthy next season, he is the star that the Marlins need alongside Jacob Marcy, who I view as a true 5-tool player. That outfield could be lethal next season.
Jeremiah, when we come back, I want to talk about the offseason. You talked about a little bit about the moves they're going to make, who the A's are targeting, who the Marlins are potentially targeting. Is the potential strike in 2027 going to affect 2026 offseason? And I want to go back to May 3rd, 2025 and replay a legendary game up next. This episode is brought to you by Zippix Toothpicks. Whether you are looking for nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. Available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligrams and 3 milligrams nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. I've used the caffeine toothpicks before big meetings and long drives. They give me energy without the jitters. And the flavors like peppermint, watermelon, ice actually taste great. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. Jeremiah, May 3rd, 2025. Marlins go into the game, I believe, with a record of 13-18. A's were 18-14. They take game 1 of the series in Miami. And at this point, the A's are looking at the Marlins like, hey, this is a series we got to sweep. We got to take. At that point, 33 games into the season. A's are up 3. Bottom 9, I believe, are up 2. Wherever the score was. Going into the 9th, I believe they were up 3. But I regress. I'm going to play a clip. Kyle Stowers hits a grand slam, a walk-off grand slam to win the game. Just a heartbreaker for the A's. And here is my reaction post-game and your reaction post-game.
What did I just witness? Kyle Stowers, a 2-out
I'm absolutely stunned
walk-off
right
grand
now.
slam. What's up, guys? It's Jeremiah Geiger from Locked On Marlins.
Booney from Locked On
Against
A.
Mason Miller, the best closer, one of the best closers in baseball.
Marlins,
the Marlins
score
with 2 outs
5 in the
never
9th.
die.
Mason Miller
They load the bases, and Kyle Stowers
with a Kyle Stowers
sends everybody home happy with a walk-off grand slam. What just happened?
I don't know what to say.
Max Meyer got the start.
I am sick
He got
to my
roughed
stomach.
up. 10 hits. Gave up 3 homers.
I'm sure Jeremiah
and that was going to be the story of the game.
from Locked On Marlins.
A bad start
from
from Max Meyer. The A's were ahead pretty comfortably. The Marlins battled back. They never quit.
Yeah.
And in this 9th inning, the Marlins just
This
walk
one's
it
gonna
off.
stay for a while.
I'm in shock.
For a long.
Kyle Stowers, 2 home runs today. He's absolutely on fire. Let's go fish.
A's were up 6-4 going to the bottom 9th. They score 1. Kyle Stowers hits the grand slam. Marlins win 9-6. It still hurts thinking about that loss, but
That's a masterpiece, Booney. That's incredible. The duality of man.
I mean, that was just, oh my God. Oh, it's still burnt. Hey, game 3, though, the A's did win in 10 and to take 2 out of 3. Soderstrom with a base hit up the middle. Now, looking at the offseason, we both have ownership that doesn't want to spend. There is a certain price payroll the A's have to hit in order to get to participate in the revenue sharing. Do you think the strike in 2027 or the potential lockout's going to affect this offseason?
I think it definitely can. I'm not sure how it's going to affect the Marlins in particular because of long-term deals. The Marlins just don't sign guys to long-term contracts. The last one they did was back in 2022. Avisail Garcia, complete flop, by the way, 3 years, $54 million. That was the most Bruce Sherman's ever spent. But I think some owners are going to be hesitant in giving out those big contracts. Though, of course, owners who have to be more frugal. If you're the Mets owner, and you're up there in the Big Apple, he doesn't care. He's got all the funds he wants. If he takes it on the chin once or twice it's okay. But for the Marlins, I have a tough time envisioning them, number one, just make a significant, commitment financially. And number two, you have the lockout threat that could, dissuade them from that price tag.
Sure. When I talk to A's fans about potentially who the A's are going to sign, obviously the biggest improvement the A's need to make is pitching. Problem with pitching is two things. They're expensive, is one. Second of all, like for example, Cal Quantrill on the open market's going for, according to Spot Track, like $8 million a year, $9 million a year. But
yeah, that's crazy to me.
That's just how much pitchers are. And in order to sign a solid arm, an ace arm, for example, the A's playing in Sacramento, you're going to have to overpay for it. But the problem with signing free agent pitching is that any minute they can get hurt. Position players, when they get hurt, they're out 4 to 6 weeks. When a pitcher gets hurt, worst case, they're out a year to 2 years. It is so crazy right now with regard to pitching. So everybody wants to sign free agents. And I tell A's fans, okay, who do you want to replace? Who do you want to get? What are they going to cost? And I believe pitching needs to be built from within. And I think the A's have done a good job with regard to that. Now, obviously, there's some bullpen help they need. They may need a hitter at third base, etc. That's what we need help on. With regard to the Marlins, what do they need to do to get better? And what I've also mentioned to A's fans, hey, extend guys like Kurtz, buy out their arbitration years, and sign them to a 10-year extension, whatever it may be. Jacob Wilson, Shea Langoliers, guys like that. What do you want to see the Marlins do this offseason, considering their history and considering what they need?
I really like that you just talked about, buying out those ARB years, because that's what the Marlins need to do. Everybody else seems to be doing it. The Red Sox, they did it with Campbell. They did it with Anthony. Anthony worked out. Campbell still in the works, still trying to develop. But the Marlins, Jacob Marcy, he came up at the beginning of August. 5-tool player, Booney. He walks, he hits, he can hit for power, speed, defense. Sign him. You don't think Jacob Marcy wants to be set up for life, to sign a 7-year deal, $75 million or whatnot? Because once he hits the open market, I guarantee you it's going to go way above that number. Augustine Ramirez. Here's the thing with Augustine Ramirez, and this is talking about offseason needs, because the Marlins have a clear need at first base. They've been rotating Eric Wagaman, Liam Hicks, who's 5'9". That's not a defensive profile for first base. Troy Johnston's been a good story. Career minor leaguer, finally got the call. But there's still a question mark there. Augustine Ramirez, I can't watch him catch anymore. I just can't. He cannot catch. Good. I want to rip my eyes out watching it.
Yeah.
Keep trying to make the square fit in the round hole. So my idea, and I've been vocal about this, give him a first base this offseason. We see catchers play first. Salvador Joe Mauer, the back end of his career. Let him learn that new position instead of making him a full-time DH, and then you're going to get some value back for him instead of just being a full-time DH at 23, 24 years old.
Right.
You have to address the offensive side of the equation. The pitching's deep. This organization has a lot of young pitchers. But offensively, I want to see a free agent signing, and I'd like to see some contract extensions.
Yeah, I'm with you. We had one listener on Locked On A's. He had a great idea. And when you talk about the A's roster, we have a lot of young talent, but there's no question about it that the two guys that you could really extend is going to be 1 and 2 in Rookie of the Year, and that's Kurtz and Wilson. He said, hey, buy out their ARB years. Extend them 10 years down the stretch. There's a commitment to them. Put their pictures on the side of casinos in Vegas so they have some excitement about it. There's some marketing there. There's excitement about the team for the first time and I don't know how long. And that makes sense to me. And going forward, one thing I'm always worried about when thinking about next year, I picked the A's to win the West this year. It's one of many things I've been wrong about. And with this second half and as how well they are playing, we talked about a little bit earlier, I am cautiously optimistic, and I want to see how you feel about next year as well. Coming up next. You have probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. And now Nutrafol is the official hair growth partner of Major League Baseball. You can feel great about what you are putting in your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF Contents certified, the gold standard in third-party certification for supplements. Whether you are at work, out with friends, or even just getting ready in the morning, Nutrafol gives you more confidence in your daily routine. I love that Nutrafol is simple to add to your day. 4 pills with a meal, no prescription needed, easy. And you can feel good about it knowing Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com. Promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com. Promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Thank you for making Locked On A's, Locked On Marlins part of your everyday routine. If you're not an everydayer, hit that subscribe button to both of our shows. We'll get you covered all during the offseason for all news A's and all news Marlins. Jeremiah, I am cautiously optimistic. I am terrified of next year. Part of me is terrified of next year. For as excited as I am for how the A's are playing, for their young crop of talent they got coming up, for the noise they have been making. We had a good second half last year and we flopped. I don't know. I don't know how this team's going to play when games actually count. Am I the only one that feels this? How do you feel going into next year?
I actually think both of our teams are in very similar positions.
Yeah.
I think the A's are absolutely in a position to contend in 2026. And I think the Marlins are as well. One of my favorite players, Nick Kurtz, I think he's going to win an MVP, whether that's next year or the year after. The dude is a stud. You have Jacob Wilson.
Yeah.
He's crazy. He's so good. And when you have those cornerstone players, that's where you supplement, you build around the core. That's what the Marlins are trying to do. Now, execution and expectations are two different things, because the fan base, for the Marlins at least, we feel good. We feel energized. 2026, it's a step in the right direction. But I believe in the process in which Peter Bendix is operating. They have a good farm system. They have young talent. I do think they can't make the same mistake, though, that they kind of did in 2023, coming off of a playoff season in which they didn't add anybody. And it was a lot different because that rebuild directly led to where they are right now. So I'm not going to harp on it too much. But when you show tangible signs of progress and you show that you have a core, a young core who's affordable, then do something about it, because otherwise you're not going to make any progress. You're just going to stay the same. Maybe you win a few more games here and there. There's still holes on this roster that need to be addressed. Will they? That's the big question. And don't trade anybody away.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I don't want to trade anyone away either. The idea of trading prospects, so forth. We made the big trade at the deadline, which I love, Mason Miller, and getting the 4 prospects in return. One of them obviously being Leo DeVries, who's absolutely been on a tear in Midland. And we're young, and extremely excited about next year. And Yeah, I felt like we were good enough to get there this year. Unfortunately, we ran into that streak where we lost 20 of 21 games. I can't stop harping on it.
Right.
And in the start we got to. But going into next year, sure, the offseason is going to be key. I'm nervous about this ownership, and one thing's remained consistent about this ownership. They have wanted, and they have been vocal about it. It's profit over dingers. It's always been like that with the A's, and they're not going in any other direction than that. And I think chemistry is important. I think culture is important. And I think the Marlins showed that in the second half and how together they played and with how much emotion they play. And we're seeing that with the Brewers. And that's the most important thing I want to see with regard to the A's is culture, togetherness, toughness, getting the right guys rather than just filling spots. So we'll see what happens. But there's no question about it. There's both franchises are on the right path with regard to the future. Is Sandy going to be part of this future?
Heading into 2025, I felt, and the majority of Marlins media felt, that Sandy wasn't going to finish the season a Marlin. Sandy loves being a Marlin. He's at the closest thing the Marlins have right now to being a homegrown player. He's been in the organization since 2017, 2018. So pushing a decade now, he was extremely happy to not get traded. And if you believe that his second half is more indicative of who he is than that first half, because he can't just look at the back of the baseball card, the numbers, they're poor overall.
Sure.
But even that second half success, then you could have a three-headed monster in 2026 in your pitching staff. Yuri Perez, Sandy Alcantara, and Edward Cabrera. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Jeremiah, let's catch up again during the offseason. Let's check in and see what either team has done. It may be a quiet offseason knowing how our ownerships have been, or maybe something of some excitement. And before I go, I got to play it again. Thanks again, Jeremiah.
What did I just witness? Kyle Stowers, a 2-out
I'm absolutely stunned
walk-off
right
grand
now.
slam. What's up, guys? It's Jeremiah Geiger from Locked On Marlins.
Booney from Locked On
Against
A.
Mason Miller, the best closer, one of the best closers in baseball.
Marlins
the Marlins
score
with 2 outs
5 in the
never
ninth.
die.
Mason Miller
They load the bases, and Kyle Stowers
with a Kyle Stowers
sends everybody home happy with a walk-off grand slam. What just happened?
I don't know what to say.
Max Meyer got the start.
I am sick to my
He got
stomach.
roughed up. 10 hits. Gave up 3 homers.
I'm sure Jeremiah
and that was going to be the story of the game.
from Locked On Marlins.
A bad start for Max Meyer. The A's were ahead pretty comfortably. The Marlins battled back. They never quit.
Yeah.
And in this 9th inning, the Marlins just walk it off. I'm in shock.
For a long
Kyle Stowers, 2 home runs today. He's absolutely on fire.